People, deluded, I'm back again. Now, I know it's a Friday, and to be honest, Saturdays is when I give myself a day off from this YouTube stuff. It's a rule I'm going to have next season. Unless a madness happens, personally, Saturdays, I'm going to leave videos alone, people. And because personally, one thing that's kind of I don't want to ramble on or waffle on. We might make this into another vid, but the ability to turn off. I mean, I can never truly turn off because if I turn off and I don't know Arsenal sign Lionel Messi, I have to give an opinion on it. I guess not that I want to, but you get it for obvious reasons. We have a YouTube channel to run, so yeah. But it's Friday. You've had the Q&A out and all of them thing there. We might as well just talk about some transfer news and just some opinions in general, mainly transfer news. The first one, you've seen Ameachi linked to Hamburg, and you've actually seen allegedly the German publication Blin has said it's a done deal and he's joined for 2.5 million. Hopefully, if that is the case, there's a buyback clause, which realistically there won't be. I know there was with Benacia, or there's a heavy sell-on percentage, or at least a first refusal to buy him back or something. Again, been no confirmation of Arsenal, excluding Blind. I've seen nobody else talk about it, no credible sources. People I can't even lie to you. I would know if it was legit. Obviously it can be legit, but I'm pretty sure I would have got a certain message or something by now. So I'm not involved in the thing like that, but through Deluded you speak to some people, so I'd like to think I'll find out about certain things. There could be legs to it. There probably is legs to him leaving the club. It does appear that he seems to be done. Personally, I don't want to talk too tough, but it does look sadly like it's out of his hands. It's beyond him being a good footballer. There's politics around that subject. If he does leave and join Hamburg, forgive me if I'm wrong, they're in the second division in Germany. Either way, German clubs have been poaching English talent, and there's been a lot of players that haven't necessarily succeeded in Germany that people haven't spoke about. But more often than not, these German clubs are giving young players chances, and I'm sure if Ameachi does go, he's got ambitions to play in the Premier League. He's still young. What he needs to do is minutes are currency. Go out, play some football, develop, because he's not going to be the bee's knees straight away. He's going to have good games, bad games. He's got a lot of potential, but then there comes learning. So go somewhere first and foremost where you're going to get that. If you're not going to be playing first team football straight away, which I don't necessarily think he will be, because he needs to work his way back to fitness. He's had some niggling injuries and that. He needs to start banging again and becoming. Obviously it's hard, but playing to that level. If he needs to go somewhere, there's a program in that they're like, okay, cool. You might be with the reserves for a minute, get used to the country, way of training. By a month or something, you're gonna forget all of this. You're gonna come true into the first team, and it's down to you how important you want to be to the first team. Because that's all Amici wants, man. He looks like someone that's ready to try and get to the next level. He looks like he just needs some encouragement, someone to put his arm around him and say, I believe in you, and let him play. Obviously, there's Martinelli, there's Nelson, there's all of these other guys, and I'm not. Competition is something at Arsenal, but he might not be feeling the love. I'm sure he wants to make it at Arsenal, stay at Arsenal, but I'm sure you lot have been in organisations or companies where you felt at home, you felt comfortable, but we're humans. We want more, whether that's salary, advance your position or career development. We've all been in that situation where we've liked an environment, we've got an opportunity, and that opportunity is going to take us out of our comfort zone for one, but to that next level. That's all Amici is. He's a footballer, but you got to remember this is a 18, 19-year-old. If you put him in any other environment, he's likely to be either a runner, an office assistant. Obviously, you get what I'm saying? You have to earn your stripes, people. If he's being offered a position to elevate himself, then he'd be a fool not to do it. Like everybody, people, you and I, as much as we love our roles, if we got offered something better where they promised to, and in writing, obviously, he promised a comfort to a fool and everything there, but in writing, if they said, yeah, DG, development, we're going to put you on this course, that course, we're going to give you management, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to do anything that you possibly relish, you're going to go, people. You're going to think, yo, I'm in a good position already, but they're offering me something I can't refuse, and it's nothing personal, it's just business. So that's what I say to these players. At the end of the day, the end goal is to become a professional footballer. Obviously they are, but it's to make it, and minutes are currency. It's all good being Amici, Nelson, Emil, Tyrese, getting the hype and that, but when you look past that, these men need to play to develop, and if they're not going to get it, which you're seeing with a lot of young players, they're going elsewhere. Personally, obviously it hurts to lose a lot of young prospects at this club, but I like to see players are taking that gamble. They're not relying on empty promises or the fact that they've got potential, because what has that done, people? You've seen many people. If you go back 10 years ago, how many promising players did you see go out on loan until they're 20, 21, not really getting a look in? They come back in pre-season. You still see elements of that. Lewis Baker, where would he be if he found a club? I'm not criticising him or Chelsea, but where would he be, for instance, people, if he sat down, went at a club that was going to give him chances, like keep him for a bit, have a bit of stability? But how much can you really improve going Dusseldorf one year, Vitesse, Middlesbrough, and this and that? Obviously, Chelsea fans understand their thing more than me. Like I said, I'm not criticising his loan in Baker or the club, but I'm using him to highlight a point. I'm not saying he ain't developed in that, because he has had injuries and not necessarily been given the platform. I like Baker a lot, really, but it is what it is. Moving away from that, obviously, people, apparently we're one of 4 clubs to agree a fee for Nicolas Pépé. Napoli have agreed a fee, which I think Carlo Ancelotti's actually spoken about that one there, people, really and truly. So it looks like Napoli have done their thing. Weren't they linked with Lozano, or have they signed him? I can't lie, it's really bad, but I'm not familiar with their matters. But I'm sure it looked like Lozano of PSV was going there if he hasn't. Apparently Liverpool have agreed it, but you're seeing things like Liverpool can't afford to spend more than a certain amount. So I wouldn't say that obviously they don't have Arsenal troubles, but it looks like the reports you saw today. I'm sure I saw a report that said 15 million. I don't buy that for a sec. Like, again, I'm not clued up with Liverpool matters and that, but surely after winning the Champions League and obviously second in the league, you don't need to make too much changes. But at the same time, there's no guarantee it's great. I think they will, but there's no great guarantee that this team is going to play to that standard. And sometimes when you win like league titles like City, or doing this like Liverpool, 2 back-to-back Champions League finals, you run the risk of complacency. I'm not saying these players are going to rest on their laurels, but sometimes you might need to bring in a better attacking a similar level, attacking player like Mane and Salah, for instance, people, to make them think, yo, I got to up my game, because there's only a certain amount of positions and there's only a certain amount of man that can play on the pitch at the same time. I want to be doing that. You might do that with a centre half. You might say, okay, Matip, Van Dijk, you lot have been alright when called upon, but let's bring in da-da-da. They're going to think, oh, I want to play because we're winning league titles and we're doing this. And that's better for the club, people. How many times have you seen someone dominate a league or the champs or whatever for a long period, maybe not champs, but dominate a league for a large period or be achieving things, and in that one season it don't go to plan or whatnot? That's the tricky thing. On one hand, you got to believe in your players that they can do that again, but at the same time, it's dangerous. And I'm sure Liverpool fans, as great as they were last season, I'm sure there's some areas they would like to improve upon, but I'll leave that to Liverpool fans. Moving on into some nonsense. Of course, people, I would love Pepe. Let's stay on the Pepe front. Of course, I would love Pepe, people. Same as I would love Zaha or Everton or Malcolm on loan, or just about any young winger that we've been linked with, or I'm saying any winger that we've been linked with. Centre half and left back for me is the bread and butter, the essentials, people, to a sandwich. Nicolas Pépé, Zaha, they're all, for me, it would be chicken and sweet corn. That's the fillers, that's the expensive stuff, people. To get it right now, we've got corned beef, and to be fair, corned beef, bully beef, better yet, is expensive now. The can ain't cheap, but you get the point. They're the basics. I want to get the basics in. If we can get Pepe, if we can get Zaha, I'll get anybody, because a lot of these wingers, obviously, they don't just have to be exclusively wingers. They can be inside forwards. There's a potential for Pepe to actually play inside. I'm sure there was many times for Leo he's not necessarily stationed on the flanks. I'm sure of it. I would love Pepe. Don't know what to make of the 80 million. On the basis of Vinay saying 40 million budget is nonsense, depending on how you look at it. I'm not going to go down that route because I'm not a financial donny like that, and they manipulate the P's and that. But based on that, we've got 70-80 allegedly for Zaha. Then you'd think surely you can go out and get Pepe for that logic. Now he's linked with Inter, Napoli, Liverpool, Arsenal, and just about every club he's been linked with, people, even PSG, really. So he's going to have a pick of clubs, and obviously there's a difference between interest and actually going for someone. So I will never know personally unless he says it, because I'm a football fan, where the interest was truly, but we'll see, man. Moving on, Sami Khedira has been linked with Arsenal. I mean, is this 2014 or 2013 again? It feels like we've gone in time. Obviously, Juventus have made a lot. Does he still play for Juventus? This is how mad it is, people. I don't even know where Khedira is. I assume he's still at Juventus, and they've brought in Rabiot, Aaron Ramsey. They're still linked with Pogba as well. They've already got a lot of depth. Obviously, they want to move him on and freshen up the squad, and based on that, he's not, I assume, or just to humour this, he's not involved in the plans next season. It's a no from me. I think he's a good player, but it's a no from me. Moving on, I heard Medley's about to get promoted to the first team picture. Obviously, he's a young centre-half, and that's interesting considering we know the club rate him quite highly. He allegedly wanted to go on loan and follow Ben Sheaf and Ballard and all of these guys trying to go out on loan and play first-team football. Bold convinced him to stay and be the under-23s captain, so obviously he's going to be playing under-23s, and he's promoted to the first team allegedly in terms of depth purposes, because on paper, assuming we don't sign a centre-half, and I haven't really had time to look at all of the Q&A questions that Vinay and Raul did and quantify everything, all of my points. but it didn't sound like we're going to get a centre-half. They bigged up Saliba. We're not going to have a centre-half for this season. Obviously, I'm hoping to be hoodwinked. But on paper, obviously, assuming Medley gets promoted, you've got Medley. Koscielny's not going to be involved, but you've got Koscielny. In fact, remove Koscielny, man. You've got Medley, you've got Socrates, you've got Chambers, you've got Holding, you've got Mustafi, lol. You've got 5 centre-halves, you've got Mavropanos, so you've got about 6 centre-halves, including him. Is he likely to play ahead of them? Who knows? If he works hard, it can be his thing. For me, if this is true, he will probably wait until January, and I won't say guarantee because I'm not his agent or anything, but based on him trying to go on loan this window, surely he will go on loan if he doesn't deem he's played substantially next season, whether that's in the Europa League or enough to make progress. Personally, I think Medley is very much the modern day centre-half. He looks very gracious, bringing the ball out. He's very confident, good range of passing, very good with that left foot hitting a diag. Do have some question marks defensively. I think he's a bit raw. I think he could be a bit proactive versus reactive in defending. I think his positioning needs a lot of work. I think he's extremely naive. I like him. I think he's got a lot of potential. I do think he should be a bit better now defensively than he has been. But he hasn't always been a centre-half, really. He was, before, when he was in Chelsea's youth ranks, I swear he said he was a striker or something, or a winger or whatnot, and you can see elements in that, so he's still learning. But hopefully this season, Bold takes his game up to another level, because I think he needs to learn. He's at that point. The technical thing, he's got it on lock, but he needs to think like a defender first. I don't necessarily think he thinks like a defender first. If you can get that, then the world's his oyster, really and truly. But it's down to him to work. Staying on task with Arsenal defenders, and Clark obviously apparently had a good game against Barnet. I think he was alright, but yeah, he was alright. He's actually said that he's learned a lot from Rob Holding, and Holding's kind of offered him some opinions earlier on in the season. If we look at it, he said, I remember just a few weeks ago in pre-season, Rob was training with us, obviously with his injury, and he gave me a bit of advice about stepping in front of the striker. He said, you've got to be on the front foot and you've got to be aggressive. He said, that's what the manager loves. So little tips like that have been really useful to me. And that's true with Holding, because Holding I don't think he's aggressive in that he's fist pumping and that, but he likes to win the ball back and stuff. And that's actually I like it, but he's got to find balance, because he has been conned a bit. He's still inexperienced, really and truly. He's 23, hasn't played that much for Arsenal, really and truly, or football in general. Look at his career appearances. As much as I like him, you don't know I'm Rob Holding's biggest fan, better than Cannavaro. But moving on, it's nice to see, man. But Harry Clark then went on to say, and he's someone that you like to think. Ballard's gone on loan, and we know Clark, he previously was a striker or further forward positions. He's playing as centre-half. I think he can even fill in that full-back. He's got an opportunity to mark his name down as a first-choice centre-half at under 23s level. Not sure in his contract length, but it is quite debatable and sticky for everybody to have a long-term future here. So he's at the age now where he's kind of got to show what he can do, really and truly, because he's turning 19 soon. It's not the end of the world, but I'm sure he doesn't want to be playing academy football for long. He wants to go out on loan or make inwards into the first team and be like Burton and Medley and Eddie and Joe and the rest of them that went off to America. He was obviously signed from Ipswich. For me, Clark, he's a decent player. Rotten luck with injuries, and it's sad to say, man. That's one thing, man. When I find myself naming Arsenal youngsters or something, sometimes, quite a few times, if you watch me a lot, you find me saying injuries. He had a lot of injuries and things like that, and it does suck, man, really and truly. Saliba's been confirmed, really, people. I'm not going to go into it, but he said that him and Guendouzi bumped into each other in Paris in a fun fair, and he told Guendouzi that Arsenal were interested in signing him. And it's not really relevant, but I like to hear that stuff, man. In that, obviously, you heard Bellerin and Ceballos were talking in regards to Arsenal. Hearing Ceballos was reading up about Arsenal as well. Hearing that, Ceballos sought the advice of Jose Antonio Reyes, his father. God bless Antonio Reyes as well, because sadly he lost his life earlier this year. Thoughts are with his family at this time, obviously, because it takes a while to get over that. But it was nice. I like to hear these sort of things, people. I think the most interesting one I found was, I think Atletico played Bayern Munich. That while that was going on, I think a couple hours ago, Bayern Munich agreed a fee for Renato Sanches at dinner. I don't think I remember the story correctly, but you get what I mean, innit? It's quite interesting, these sort of things. On that note, though, I'm gonna get out of here. People, DG, enjoy your Friday.